We'll make this nice and short and sweet. I think you'll really like it. It's all about the power of your question. When we talk about questions, in the past, we've always talked about how it affects meditation. Because if you just go into a meditative state without a question, you're going to get sort of a spa feeling. You'll still feel relaxed. You'll still feel like stress has left. You'll still feel that there's some tranquility there, there's harmony, but it's short-lived. It has an expiry date because you're just feeling the fact that you went outside of your body for a short time, and just that alone will revitalize you. But when you come back, you still have the same problems, the same issues you're working with, the same stresses, and you're still no further ahead in your insight as to how to solve them. So when you go in with a question, that's why I always say, when you are meditating, don't come back with empty pockets. That's the best way I could describe it. Come back with full pockets. So you're going in with a few questions, asking the biggest one first, because you're in a point where you are connected to spirit. You can sense what the answer would be. Some people will see, they're more visual, more tactile, you'll feel more. Some people will hear the answer. It all depends on what your gift is as far as that. Mine is feeling. I don't see much and I don't hear much, so I'm like a deaf blind person. But my sense of feeling is extremely accurate, extremely strong. And so that's the suit, and that's the way spirit communicates with me. Today's color is the color orange, and mainly because it is connected to self-worth. What we feel we are worth as a person, as a soul, as a person on this earth, what is our value? Because so many times when I meet people, this is one of the questions that they ask. I don't feel like I really have a big impact on whatever I'm doing. My family doesn't really respect me. I really don't know what to do. So I have no sort of an earmark as to what my value is, because they are waiting for other people to tell them what their value is. Okay? And they can't, because they're still struggling with their own value. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because this is where, when you get a person that loves to help people, and so many of us are like that. They see a person in distress. They see somebody that needs help. They're reaching out, or no, not even reaching out. They could see that they're just going through challenges. And so we have oftentimes some various things we could get them to try, and we want to help in some way. But until they're asking a question, there's no light that could come in. One of the things that I've read a while back was someone in darkness, and if we want to help those people, no light could come in because there's no question that opens up that portal. Remember, we talked about going through a meditation, and you're going in with a question like, what do I do with the kids? They're driving me crazy. Maybe that could be a good question. How do I manage that? What's going on? And you just wait, and you'll get answers because a portal has opened up for that question. It's the same thing for someone in total darkness. They won't see the damage or the insults that they're doing to other people accidentally. They could be talking about something, and right beside someone else, they could be insulting them, and they're hurt, but they would not see it. And when they're even approached to say, hey, what you said was, pretty rude. It hurt me. No, it didn't, because I don't see it hurting me, so it probably wouldn't hurt you. That's the way they look at things, is how they see it. If I tell you that your kids are fat, let's say, and someone says, yeah, I really took offense to that. And I said, well, if I said my kids are fat, I wouldn't take offense, so that should be no big deal. Not realizing it's not your call to whether or not you hurt somebody, and it's up to you as a judge to say, yes, I hurt you, or I didn't hurt you. That's not your call. If another person got hurt, it's because you said something. And if you have that higher awareness, you'll address it. But if you're in darkness, you won't see it. That's what Spirit is sort of talking about. But it all comes down to a question. What question are you asking yourself constantly so that you could find more light. And we talked earlier about how women have this lantern, this light that's within them that men follow. And it's so important for women to keep this light lit, because you have the goals of how you want to run your family. You have the goals as to where your family is going. And, I tell you, us guys, we are more than happy to follow that, because we know that you're connected in so many ways for that. Or it's the feminine energy, I should say. So in a relationship where one person is more feminine, it would be that person that would be more of an expert, or as an authority as to where this is all going to go from a nurturing perspective. Okay? So first of all, when they talk about a question, never ask a question that you're afraid of the answer. Never ask a question. And it's the hesitation that you have for not asking it that sometimes you have to ask yourself. Like the question within a question. Like, how come I am so afraid of asking this question? Is there something in that question, right? It means that there's something that you're not ready to receive, and it's when you delve more into why you're afraid of asking it, it'll give you more signs of where you are from a spirit perspective, or from being a light as possible. Here's a few examples. Let's say you're in a relationship and a person is asking themselves, does this person love me? Well, for a person that is maybe unsure of where that other person is from a love perspective, if they're unsure, then that would be self-worth. I'm not sure if this person loves me. So they're using someone else's opinion of themselves to see whether or not they have that self-worth. And that's a really slippery slope there. So that's why they're afraid to ask that question, because if it is, no, they don't love you, well, all of a sudden, the situation changes dramatically, doesn't it? I might have to find another person. Who else would want me? Kind of thing. And that's why they don't ask that question. So it does need to be asked, and you need to address it, because it has to do with neediness, self-worth, and the like. Another one is, why did this person leave me? Sort of suggesting that there was an abandonment, or they just left. Like, imagine coming home to your home and there's no furniture and your spouse is gone. That's the most severe one that I've had over the years. And so when that person left, what did that make you feel? Did it tweak anything in your past that someone else had left you? Perhaps you might have been adopted. Perhaps you came into another family for a while and there was various things happening, or there was trouble with your own mother and father and you had to live with your grandparents for a while. Whatever the case is, when you become older, you start asking questions. Well, didn't they want to try hard enough? Didn't they love me? Why did they sort of do all that and leave me? And so when you look about the abandonment, how does that abandonment work for you? And you need to make peace with that. It has nothing to do with the other person. So everything is internalized and everything comes out a different way. When you're afraid of asking a question, there's usually a reason why you don't want to ask that. Now, the most obvious one, of course, is how long will I live? That question. Well, Spirit is saying there, and this has happened, I've had this happen in a reading where someone would say, how much longer do I have to live? And I said, do you really want to know? I could say 42. And the guy's 38. It's, I got 4 more years to live. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The point is, what does it matter what your expiry date is? Because if I were to say that you're going to live till 80, what does that do? That does, in the next 40 years, you're going to be worrying about that one day when you're 80 that you're not going to be around. So you're not going to live for the next 40 years. So that's why Spirit really hesitates giving you when, and it doesn't always apply when you're going through a certain time in your life. And I've seen cases where a person's in their 60s and I can see their energy just declining, dwindling, and I can feel in Spirit saying, you know, they're ready to go into the next life sort of thing. Then all of a sudden something shifts, something happens. They realize that they want to look further into their life and start asking the bigger questions, like, why am I here? What am I here to do? And all of a sudden, Spirit sees that, oh, they're going through some of the work they would be doing in the next life. So in doing that, they'll spare them and get them to live a little longer so they could do more of the work that would normally be done in the next life. So even your expiry date can change just by your perspective and the questions you ask yourself. Okay? I want to give you one example, a very clear example about one question a person would ask you and give you a very clear answer that has something to do with self-worth. And you can apply this to any other thing that would come along that would be applicable for you. So here's the situation. If a relationship, let's say you're dating somebody, and you're at a point where this person is telling you, you know, I'm ready to spend my life with you, but I also have another person. And so the question is, which one should I choose? Should I choose you or should I choose this other person? So that's the situation. And this is the answer. The answer you choose is choose them. It is not because I am kind or generous, but you need to recognize that the moment you turned me into a mere choice, you forfeited any claim you had on me. I am not an option, and I refuse to be treated as such. My worth is not variable and can be weighted against another person. The instant you hesitated between me and someone else, you crossed a line, and it can't be withdrawn. I won't stand as a consolation prize or a backup plan. Here is the harsh reality. I am not here to wait in line while you validate your options. I am not here to be chosen when it is convenient for you. I am here as a force, as a presence, as an embodiment of self-assured love. I won't settle for anything less than being someone's deliberate and unequivocal choice. If you genuinely want a place in my life, understand this. I demand the respect and certainty that any person with self-worth rightfully deserves. If you're not ready to grasp the significance of that, then please step aside and make room for someone who will. In the end, I refuse to settle to be a part of such a question. Now, that's a raw form. Now, that's when a person really feels self-worth. So what you would probably like to know is where you stand on this perspective, or where you are in your life, in your self-perspective or your self-image, and where this is. And if it's very close to this, then you're already very much there. Sometimes people will say, you know, I don't mind being a choice, and now I have to sell this person on spending my life with them. And all Spirit says you're wasting your time, because you're already at a point where you're setting yourself up for future regrets of that person realizing what would life be like without you. And so it's a no-win situation. Whether you take this person or you move on, you've lost the person already. It's just you're taking them now and you have possession of that body, but they could leave at any time because they chose you. And now they're in control. And now it sets a whole vast amount of things up about that. The question itself, any question you ask regarding anything in life, it will reveal a number of things. It'll reveal your maturity. It'll reveal your intelligence or your spiritual awareness of things. I want to give you one example here. I'm going to give you one example here really quickly. Let's say you're in high school. You've just started your first day in high school, grade 9. And one of your first questions is to the teacher, when is recess? Let's say that's a question. So that just the question itself has a flaw in it, because in high school they don't call it recess anymore. Going through elementary from kindergarten to grade 8 or grade 7, whatever it is, that is a time where all the school gets out and all the excess energy that those kids have, they get to run and play out in the field, and then the bell rings and everybody comes back in. In high school, it's more individualized, and it is not called spare. I don't know what it's called now, but in my day, they called it a spare, or they called it it was a spare or a time off or whatever it was. But it was definitely not called recess. So when a person is asking a certain question, right away you know where they're talking about. If a person is saying that, why am I here? Or who am I? When a person is asking you, who am I? What it really means is that they don't understand who they are. And it is not your job to tell them who they are, because you're still discovering who you are. And you definitely don't want to be in that position to start reading people and tell them where they are in their life. But to make it very short, what Spirit says, if you're on Earth and you're still asking that question, you need to watch the movie 42. The answer is 42. I believe it was Jim Carrey that played in a movie, and it was called 42. You can Google it, you watch the movie, it'll give you a better perspective of what this means on Earth, about what all that means. But when a person is still asking you, who am I? That means they're not able to go through all those synchronicities and all that work to find out really who they are. And that's not our job. I can't tell you who you are. You have to want to know who you are. And so what questions are you asking yourself? In meditation, when you ask questions, you need to know what is going on with you at this moment. We said at the very beginning that when you are meditating and you go in with a question, you will start getting answers based on those questions. But be very careful of the sophisticated questions that you're asking. Ask questions that will actually move you forward. Like knowing that if you go into a meditation and you say, am I going to be okay? That could be a question. Well, most times, Spirit will say, of course you're going to be fine. You're supported. But if you ask it at that point and you get, yes, you're going to be okay, but it still doesn't give you peace, that was not the question to ask. The question you need to ask is, what will give you peace if you know the answer? So before you even ask the question, you ask yourself, what's the question? I need to find out what the question is. And here's a little tidbit you could use. You could ask Spirit, Spirit, if I was a wiser person, what question would I ask? And so in the meditation, it'll come out. It'll just come out with something. And he says, okay, Spirit, I like that question. So being an expert question maker is vital to getting the insight that you need. Otherwise, you tie yourself in. If you just go into a meditation, who am I? That would be like trying to look at, and this is very, very rough, War and Peace, to try and find out one line in the book, and it's like over 1,200 pages, I think. And you're trying to find one line in this book, and it's going to be too vast, it's too big. Who am I? So you need to sort of boil it down a little bit so that whatever insight that you get from that meditation is going to give you peace. If it just comes back and you're going to be okay, but you're still stressed, it didn't work. So one of the things about the universe is that we have heard so many times of the question, whatever the question is, love is the answer. Have you heard that term? And that is so prevalent that whatever question you ask, you should have an element of love in it. In other words, what do I need to do to bring in cherished thoughts in my head? Because I go through a lot of stress with the kids, and I go through a lot of stress at work, and whatever those lines are, what will bring me some peace that I could use to nurture myself? So it has that element of love in it. Every question should have something like that because it will always embody your true nature, which is your highest worth. Many scientists are asking all kinds of questions about the universe. Have you noticed? You know, they have the Hubble telescope and many other sophisticated telescopes so they could see what galaxies are like. And we see pictures that are beautiful on some of the galaxies that the Hubble has done, or the space shuttle that is in that area is now near Jupiter and is taking all kinds of amazing pictures. And these are great to watch. But scientists are so wrapped up in how the universe looks with its stars and the planets and the black hole and the list just goes on, asteroids and everything else, is they're not really looking at the inside of what the universe is all about. The Spirit says it's a little bit like watching you, looking at your hands, looking at your face, looking at your arms, your legs, your feet, and then try and determine your personality. It can't be done because that's a completely separate thing. You, all of us, we're soul walkers. There's a soul in each of you, and this vehicle that we walk around with is simply the shell that carries around this soul. There's no way that you could possibly look at the shell and figure out what's happening inside unless you are invited to come inside. And people that really connect with each other, twin flames, even people that have been together in many past lives as best friends will come in, and each of them will know each other so well. They finish each other's sentences. They're just so easily, they congeal so well together. They're so good together. But what makes that is because the souls really like each other's company. That's why they keep coming in. And also, if you look at the lives of those people, sometimes they're tumultuous. They'll go through lots of trauma where they could talk to the other friend and they can console each other like they have been in other lifetimes, in the battlefield, in the places where they lost their home and they were driven out of their land, right? And you're going through that same thing. So it all seems recognizable or familiar, but they're all in different settings. Now it was just domestic violence, but after that, there's other things. But you always connect to this other person so well. And that's because you're getting to know their soul. And that's where the real juice of it all is knowing what a person is going through, is doing. And they don't offer advice, they just offer whatever you need at the time. What do you need? And one of the things is that when people, they want to help each other, right? And so many of us, we want to not only do all the things in our life to reduce all the problems we have, we want to help others that have similar problems or even problems that we are not knowing that they have. And so we're right there to try to figure things out for them, right? And Spirit says, don't do that. We're not here to solve other people's problem. Socrates said it very well in his day, where he says, he spends most of his time getting other people and asking them questions so that they could ask their own question on how to solve their own problems. As an example, somebody could say that I got tossed out of my house and I can't get back in. I don't know how to get back in. And what am I going to do with myself? I'm not loved, and whatever other situations going on. The first thing you need to do is validate. He says, that is incredible. I certainly am right there for you. What do you need? So you validate whatever they're going through rather than saying, oh, you'll be okay. Just go back to him. He's a good provider. Validate whatever that they're doing. The next thing to do is ask them 3 questions. The first question is, how do you see you fixing this problem? And so you wait. Anything they tell you, even if it's way out there. Well, to fix this problem, I think I need to get my mom to apologize, or I need to get someone. In other words, it has something to do with other people doing something so their problems can be less or nothing. And you just basically acknowledge what they've said, and then you move on to the next question. The second question would be, what do you think that will be the biggest difference if you do nothing? In other words, do you see that there'd be an end to this? What are you thinking? How that could work? What difference could it make? Does it need any action? The third one will be, how would you feel once this problem has been solved? How would you feel? And those three questions will, even if they're not asking any questions, once they start asking questions, then they'll start getting answers on their own. And that's the point. Get those people that are going through these huge challenges to start asking questions on their own. Because there's nothing more frustrating for somebody to say that I'm where I am because I was not raised properly. I am where I am because I was never held. I am where I am because nobody seemed to care or nobody wanted to listen. There's always this sense of blame. And because they're talking that way, I already know where they are in their questions because they're not asking any questions. And you could be listening to them for 20 minutes and not one question was asked to you about what do you think I should do? Nothing. They just wanted to unload this onto you. So you just turn yourself into Teflon or whatever that would repel this and send it back to them with love and just say, well, I know you could do this. I have full faith in you. And that's it. That's how to best solve that problem. The thing about asking is, instead of asking the universe, how can I learn more about the universe? Because people do ask that. I hear about the universe all the time, and I want to know more. And Spirit says, that's okay. That's okay to do your own research. But don't make it an obsession. Make it so you're asking various questions so you understand a little bit about what the universe is all about. Not the body parts, not the face, not the hands, but really what the universe is. But what you should maybe perhaps ask yourself is, how can I use the power of the universe to help with my problem of trauma, resistance, fear? How can I use the powers of the universe to help that? That's a great question. Because you're not asking for insight about what's happening with the universe. You're turning it around and you're saying, this power that already exists, how can that come to me so that I could get through my traumas? And how can I get through my problems? Is there a flow or an order? I want to read you something here that I picked up just recently in an article. And I wrote it word for word so that it would get the full meaning of it. It says, the perfect yet complex powers of the universe is daunting. If the gravitational field in the universe, that's what really the universe is. It's all about gravity. It's all about sound frequencies. It's all about all of those. If the gravitational field is a fraction of a percentage too strong, everything would crush within itself. It would literally implode, where all the planets would collide together in less than a second. But if it is, conversely, if it is a fraction of a percentage not strong enough, everything would fly apart and be out of control. All the stars, planets, billions of galaxies would be in total disorder and disarray. The point is, the universe knows exactly how strong it needs to be. It leads us to believe that there must be an energy form that oversees this complex perfection. If there is a powerful order in the universe that we can't comprehend, Spirit is suggesting that we follow that or ask a question to bring those forces into helping us join that flow. Everything in nature follows this law. We can't deny this. Why can't we follow it on a larger perspective? Most of the population is not doing this. And so why not? It goes on to say that the universe doesn't want you to try harder. And this is where it caught my eye right away. It wants you to breathe. Just breathe. Let go and be open to things being easier and more magical than reality. Make it more magical than you could possibly ever imagine. Those who follow and those who flow as the universe flows know they need no other force. They align with the energies and they let magic happen. They don't have to understand what's happening. Okay, we'll go right into the meditation. What I want you to do, we're going to play the mountain meditation like we did last week. Those that are new, that weren't here last week, we have a special meditation and it's about mountains. I'm going to show you a video and you could have your eyes open, or if you feel you want to meditate or you want to lie down, that's fine. I want you to stand in front of a huge mountain, Mount Everest, Mount Matterhorn, whatever it is. And I just want you to look at the mountain, starting from the base of the mountain, and start to look up and get to the very top of this mountain. And I want you to also come in with a question or a couple of questions, right? Coming with a couple of questions. And as you're looking up, I want you to ask this question, is like, what do I need to do to be in this flow of the universe to help with my traumatic situation I had when I was a child? Something like that. And you look up at the mountain to the very top, and what Spirit is saying, follow what the mountains are pointing to. And they're usually pointing up. And just have your eyes continue to go up so you see the sky. Because that is our window, our very, very small window to the universe outside of this planet. And watch that. If it's in the daytime, watch what happens. If it's at night, watch the stars. Whatever vision you're getting, and just wait for a response to your question. Okay, let's try this and meet back here, and we will talk about it very shortly. Okay, take a deep breath. Breathe in the color orange. And breathe out color orange. We'll see you in about 13 minutes.
The snow glows white on the mountainside, not a footprint to be seen. A place of isolation, and no one here is mean. The wind is howling like my childhood storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I've tried. Didn't let them in. Didn't let them see. Be the good child you always had to be. Conceal it. Don't feel it. Don't say a word. Stay in a corner so you are not heard. Don't let them know who you are, as your real identity hides too far. The mountain says, let it go, let it grow. Can't hold it back anymore. Let go of the fight. Let go of the angry stack. Turn away and then don't look back. I don't care what they're going to say. The mountain inside of me is going to stay. Let the outside storm rage on. The mountain's wind protects me till dawn. It's funny how the mountains make everything seem so small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through. It's time to let the mountain out inside of me. It's time for me to just be. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I am finally free. Let it go. Let me grow. I'm peaceful as the mountain snow. I am one with the wind and sky. You'll never hear me cry. Here I stand, and here I stay. Let the storm rage on for another day. My power of the wind is blowing to the peaks. My soul is spiraling, creating cloudy streaks. And some had thought that I was weak and always last. I'm never going back. The past is in the past. Let me grow. Please let me grow. Just stand back and watch me glow. And I will rise like the dawn. That perceived perfect child is long gone. Here I stand in the light of day, with nothing to prove and no one to pay. For the mountain I climb is not for others to look up at me. It's the inner mountain I climb. That's my identity. No more pretending and no more shame. The size of the mountain and I are the same.
Taking a deep breath and slowly make your way back. Try and remember what you felt, whether or not your question was answered. Make a note. Was this question different than the past because of what our discussion was today. Slowly come back in the room. And do you feel different? Do you feel warmer? Do you feel colder? You feel dizzy? Did you get anything answered? I'm just going to check the chat here, just so that if you wanted to say any. Okay, any questions? I've got a few minutes. I have to leave in just a few minutes for an appointment, but how was that different than past ones that you did? Again, Spirit's showing you another way, and they revolve around everything regarding a question. Look at it this way. If you don't ask any questions, then there's no connection, really. There isn't really anything, because whatever guardian angels you have beside you, or whatever the way anything wants to do something for you, give you insight, without a question, they can't, and that is a law, they can't interfere and give you insight without. It's only a person like me that would give insight to somebody. But I've grown wiser over the years. In the beginning, I was trying to help everybody. It was only matched by the colossal failure that most of them went through because they weren't asking. You're just trying to solve a problem that they don't think exists. I want to read you something here I picked up a few days ago. It says, "We are trained as humans to create worlds of darkness. Our eyes see everything as separated from light. There's only one light, but there's thousands of divisions of light going other places, whatever that is. It's just not light, but it's other than light. With greater certainty comes greater capacity for your spiritual work, or for your work you're doing on earth. And all of it has to do with the way you ask." I thought that was very appropriate for today. Released a lot of pain. Oh, is that physical pain? Somebody said they released a lot of pain. Was that emotional, or was that something physical? Oh, it says on the left side, and that's physical.
Yeah, physical.
Yeah. Great.
And I got a tear in the left eyes as well.
Okay.
I don't know. I was coughing a lot. And then I got a tear coming out of my eyes. And then a sharp pain in my root chakra.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that was about, but...
Mm-hmm. In your next meditation, that would be your next question.
Okay.
Okay? So
Yeah.
you write those your responses down about the root chakra, the pain in your root chakra, and the just what you just said. He says, what's that about? And that's an excellent question, because you're focusing on something that Spirit heard you. They responded. You got it. Now you don't know what happened, and now that's your next question. Now, I could answer it for you, but in this particular class, I really want you to go back to those entities that sent you the message to begin with to get greater clarity. And all you need to say is, tell me more. From the last class with Tony's place, okay, I got this, and this. Tell me more. Because this was only 13 minutes. It might be just a hint of some of the things that were going on. But when you can do that on your own, boy, does that make you feel empowered, doesn't it? Like, I don't want you to rely on someone like me for something like that. I mean, anything's bigger and stuff we can talk about, but these are little things and little nuggets coming up on your way. A great learning platform to move yourself forward to getting to really analyzing the questions that you're asking. Like, you're way beyond, am I going to be okay? If you're still there, I don't know what else to do. Because by this point, you should know you're okay. Let's move on to something more sophisticated. You know, you're not in elementary school anymore. You're not in high school. You're in, let's say, university type. You're in a higher echelon of energy. So ask higher echelon questions. Don't say, when is recess in university? Just say, when do I have a time off? Not only that, he says, when can I get the timetable for all my classes? Because in the timetable, it not only will tell you all the times that you're free, all the spares you'll have, and all of the time off, but it'll also tell you all the subjects where you're going to, and the times and the places. So asking for a timetable is much more sophisticated than just say, when is my time off, right? So adjust it to the intelligence of the questions you're asking. If you're still going through various traumas from your childhood, then just say, okay, what is the gift? Let's just go right full board with this. Whatever happened to me was awful. We got that. We've gone through a lot of the self-healing part of that. But now tell me the gift. What actually happened there that made me a better person? And that's a great question. That's a university question, because that's so deep that when you get stuff there, that will give you peace when you get that answer. And that's the point. Ask questions that will move you forward and just bring you to tears, like Ranjana just has gone through. If you could go through a meditation and you're always coming out and you're tearing up, that's amazing. That means you're hitting the core of who you are and hitting the real essence of your self-value. And that's how I gauge a lot of the things I do. If I'm tearing up and I know it's good, I know it's fantastic. So that's how I measure it. So find your way to measure it. Okay, guys, I have to go. All right. Have yourself a great weekend. Love you all. And the newest one that we just did, I just posted this yesterday, was the self-healing podcast that I did. And after a class that I did before, I wanted to make it so perfect. My podcasts are just so, I want to make it so that the breathing is perfect, but I just had to let that go. And this one is a little more raw. It was interesting just to be able to post this. It says, oh, geez, I really want to make a lot of changes, but Spirit says, just post it. You know, people will get it. People will get the message that it doesn't have to be perfect. So that was my thing. So have a good weekend, people, and we'll see you next week. Love you all.
Thank you, Johnny.
Okay, bye.